With all the craziness surrounding a Broncos quarterback, Russell Wilson, right now, where is he going to end up playing football in 2024? I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see if he gets traded or if he gets cut. But I can tell you this right now, NFL fans, I don't think he's going to be a Denver Bronco come next season. Before I go into my top 5 Russell Wilson destinations on today's show, make sure you click that subscribe button for in-depth, free, and daily NFL content right here from Chat Sports. We're approaching 350,000 subscribers here, a part of our Chat Sports family. We really do appreciate all of you guys. So make sure you click that subscribe button and join our family today. All right, now let's get into the Russell Wilson situation because it has been completely crazy here over these last 42 hours. So, of course, the Broncos announced yesterday on Tuesday that Russell Wilson will be benched in favor of Jarrett Stidham for week 17 and 18. They said it was because of performance issues, but I think we all know it's because of that guaranteed money that would kick in on Russ's contract if he somehow got injured during the final 2 weeks of this season, and the Broncos do not want to pay that guaranteed money. Wilson has also reportedly has known this all the way since October, knowing that if the Broncos were not in playoff position, that he would get benched for the final 2 games of this year. And that's just kind of a crazy thing to be holding on to for an entire season, if you ask me. And of course, Russell Wilson currently has 5 years left on his current contract. So if somebody can pick him up via trade, they'd have their starting quarterback here for the foreseeable future. And, there's also a report that has been going around here that the Broncos plan to release Russell Wilson at the end of the season. Now, if you ask me, you probably want to go get a trade if you're the Denver Broncos, because the dead cap that you would have to deal with over the next half decade is absolutely astronomical, especially next season. $85 million the Broncos would have to be on the hook for in terms of their salary cap if they cut Russell Wilson. The next year, it cuts in about half there, a little bit less than half there, $49.6 million in 2025, goes down to 31, 12, and then 4 by 2028. But to pay a player this much in terms of your salary cap over a 5-year stretch, somebody that's not going to play a single down for you, is absolutely astronomical. So if you're the Denver Broncos right now, you have to be thinking, we're desperate to trade this guy. If we don't want him as our starting quarterback next year, we have to find a sucker to take his contract, because I don't think many people think that Russell Wilson is worth the contract he's currently earning there in Denver. And if you have to release him instead of trade him, the Denver Broncos are going to be in trouble financially for probably a very, very long time. And if I was the Broncos GM, I would seriously do whatever it takes to get a trade versus having to cut him. But the thing is here, I really don't think that anyone is going to want to trade for Russell Wilson. I mean, ask yourself right now, your favorite NFL team, would you trade anything for Russell Wilson and his contract at this point? I'm not sure many people would. I think some people might trade for Russ if his contract wasn't so astronomically huge in terms of a cap hit over the next half decade. But even if you trade for him, right, the cap hit that you're going to have to take on with Russell Wilson, who is a pretty middle-of-the-pack starting quarterback right now, is just not worth it for probably anybody in the National Football League right now. Next year, it's not so bad at 25.4 if he's traded, but then it balloons up to over $45 million for the next 2 years, and then it gets above $50 million for the final 2 years. Now, you can restructure, you can do all these different things down the road, and, maybe a team is stupid enough to take on this contract and think, down the road, we'll figure it out. But, with a guy like Russell Wilson, whoever the last 2 seasons or so, has just not been the elite quarterback, the MVP candidate type player that he was back with the Seattle Seahawks going back to 2020, 2021. It just hasn't been the same for Russell Wilson here over the last 3 seasons. That's why he was traded to Denver. That's why, the Broncos are getting rid of him now, is because he's just not the guy that he was in Seattle. He's not worth the contract that he's currently making, and I'd be extremely surprised if the Broncos are able to find somebody to trade for Russell Wilson in that massive contract that he has. But you predict it for me down there in the comment section. Will Russell Wilson be cut or traded this offseason. Type T if you think he's going to get traded, or type C if you think he's going to get cut. I think that if the Broncos want to trade him, I don't think they're going to be able to. So in the end, I think he'll end up getting cut. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So when it comes to Russell Wilson as a quarterback, taking away the contract situation here, all right, I still think Russell Wilson is a top 32 quarterback in the world, all right? I still think that he is deserving of being a starting quarterback in this league. Now, I no longer think he's the top 10, top 5 guy that he was back in 2020 when he was still competing for MVP trophies. But, you look at the stats this year, and they're not terrible, all right? You got the 66.4 completion percentage. The yards is over 3,000 this year. That's far from terrible. Yards per completion, he's averaging over a first down, so that's a pretty decent number right there. And then the touchdown to interception ratio is actually pretty good at 26-8. So it's, Russell Wilson has been far from a terrible starting quarterback this year, but also keep in mind, he has one of the best offensive play callers in the world in Sean Payton. So you can only expect these numbers to go down based on whoever he goes to next, because I'm guessing his next offensive play caller is not going to be a Sean Payton level kind of guy. So coming up here, I got my top 5 Russell Wilson destinations, 5 teams I think are going to be interested in potentially signing Russell Wilson if he's cut by the Denver Broncos. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. If you're looking for a way to spice up your game days this NFL season, Prize Picks is going to be perfect for you because it's a skill-based, real money, daily fantasy sports game. And here's how you play. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection. It's super easy, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So if you know ball, you can absolutely make money with Prize Picks. This is my entry for this weekend's game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got the less on Geno Smith passing yards. I got the more on George Pickens receiving yards after a nice bounce-back game last week against the Bengals. And I got the less on DK Metcalf receiving yards. That is my entry. You can get your entry in now by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. At Prize Picks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks that are just looking to take advantage of you. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. So let's start with number 5, and I think this one is a little bit less likely, but let's break it down a little bit here. The Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders were reportedly interested in potentially trading for Russ back when the Seahawks were dealing him, but the Commanders heading into the 2024 offseason have a ton of cap space. Once you account for all the players they're going to cut, all this different stuff, they might end up having the most out of any NFL team heading into the offseason. Right now, they got over $81 million in 2024 cap, according to Over the Cap. Also, they just benched Sam Howell, so it seems like he is not going to be the guy there in Washington moving forward. It looks like they're going to be on the hunt for a new quarterback, and they're also going to be bringing in a new head coach. And being the Commanders host here at Chat Sports, I personally think it's going to be an offensive guy because Ron Rivera, defensive-minded guy, just about to get fired. I think it's more likely Washington brings in an offensive mind to usher in the next era of football here in Washington. Now, here's why it's less likely, all right? So you got the cap space, you got the need for quarterback, all this different stuff. You can hire a head coach that fits Russell Wilson's play style, but they have a top 3 draft pick, all right? And there's reports going around that they really like Caleb Williams and that they're going to be willing to trade up to the number 1 overall if Chicago is willing to deal in order to get the USC quarterback in their building. And I think they'd rather go the Caleb Williams route, get him on a rookie contract, all this different stuff, than trading or signing Russell Wilson, a veteran, at this point. Now, if they were trading more like 9, 10, 11, I think this might be the number 1 option for Russell Wilson. But because the Commanders are drafting so high up and they're going to be in position to draft either Caleb Williams or Drake May, maybe even Jaden Daniels, we'll see how much he rises throughout the process. I just don't see the Commanders getting a veteran this offseason at quarterback. Number 4 on my list, New England Patriots. And listen, the need is definitely there for the Patriots. I don't think anybody really expects Bill Belichick to still be in New England. this offseason. I think we all know that he's probably going to get fired. He's going to go somewhere else. We don't know where. But the Patriots are probably going to have a new head coach next year. Maybe an offensive mind. I guess we'll see where Robert Kraft goes with that. But definitely the need at quarterback is pretty obvious at this point. And they're going to be cleaning house here. And Russell Wilson going to New England, already have a good defense. Maybe this is something that could fit. I could certainly see Russell Wilson being maybe a 1 or 2 bridge starter type there in New England. Then we go to number 3, the Atlanta Falcons. And this team is really being listed by a lot of people as the number 1 option for Russell Wilson. And I can see why. I do think that it would be a good plan B for Atlanta. But let's face it, guys, I don't think Russell Wilson's going to be the Falcons' first choice. I think we all know that they have been kind of eyeing Justin Fields, the Chicago Bears quarterback. If the Bears are drafting 1, I think it would be kind of interesting to see if they keep Fields or if they trade Fields. But if Fields is available, Atlanta's going to make a very, very strong push to get him in their building. But if they don't trade Fields, if something doesn't fall through, if he gets traded elsewhere, whatever the case may be, Russell Wilson might be a nice plan B for Atlanta. And when it comes to Russell Wilson's potential interest, I mean, this division really does stink. This could be his division here come next year, right? Derek Carr and the Saints are struggling. Carolina is still getting trying to get under their feet here. This division is not very good. Tampa Bay is definitely the kings of this division right now, and even they are probably vulnerable moving forward with Todd Bowles as their head coach. So it's a favorable division to enter here if you're Russell Wilson. It's a very run-heavy offense here with Arthur Smith. Could be a nice system for Russell Wilson to want to go to if he hits the open market here in 2024. So go ahead, do me a favor right now. Click that subscribe button and help us get here to 350,000 subscribers. We are so close. We are less than 800 subscribers away from getting to this awesome milestone here. It's absolutely fantastic. So help us out right now. Click that subscribe button and join the Chat Sports family. Number 2 on my list, Las Vegas Raiders. Now, around this time last year, I was telling people, Jimmy G, he sounds like he's going to be a Las Vegas Raider. And you know what? I was right about that. And right now, don't be surprised if Russell Wilson is the next quarterback in that line of signal callers here that the Raiders go out and get. Because right now, Pierce, their interim head coach, is actually doing a pretty decent job. They're not going to have a super high draft pick to get one of those top 3 quarterbacks here in this year's draft class, in my opinion, unless they trade up. They do have the cap space to go out and get a guy like Russell Wilson and pay him $20 million per season. So I could absolutely see the Raiders as a potential fit here. Now, does Russell Wilson really fit the culture of the Las Vegas Raiders? I'm not too sure about that. I don't know if he really seems like a Raider-type quarterback, but it definitely seems like the stars could be aligning here for Russell Wilson to be a Las Vegas Raider. And then number 1 on my list, this one's very interesting to me. And I'm interested to see what Giants fans think of this potential idea. The New York Giants are the number 1 team on my list, and I think it's a perfect fit for both quarterback and system. All right, so obviously, Russ has been rumored to the New York Giants literally for like a half a decade at this point, going back to when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, talking about how Sierra, his wife, wants to move to New York for him to play in New York. Of course, he won his lone Super Bowl at MetLife Stadium when he beat the Broncos, right? That's a very special stadium to him. Also, I think the Giants will be cutting Daniel Jones with a post-June 1st designation this offseason. If they do that, they don't take on any dead cap for the 2024 campaign. And it just seems like with Daniel Jones, the way that he played this year, it just seems like the right move is to cut bait with him, designate him as a post-June 1st cut here, and then go and get a new quarterback. And I think Russell Wilson is actually a really good fit for Brian Daboll's offense. Lots of shotgun, a little bit of quarterback run stuff, deep throws down the field is what Daboll was known for with the Buffalo Bills when he had a guy with a strong arm like Josh Allen. And he hasn't really been able to do that here in New York with guys like Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones, of course. It's just been a lot of deke and dunking there, and that's not really Brian Daboll's style. So I could definitely see Russell Wilson as a New York Giant next year. That's the complete list right there. If I'd have to bet right now, I think he's going to be a New York Giant. But let me know down there in the comments section. Where will Russell Wilson be playing football in 2024? Let me know your prediction down there in the comments section. I guess in a couple of months, we'll see if you're right. That'll be it for today's show, NFL fans. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, we are so close to 350K subs here on Chat Sports. So do me a favor, click that subscribe button and join our family today.